way he was looking at Roshan, going, "Ooh, he big." Roshan was like, "Hey, Dad, this guy tripping over here. He talking about I'm big. I don't think he talking about the same thing we talking about, Dad. I'm big, but he looking at me a little strange." I see, yeah, Ro, you got to watch out for that.
Willie D. Live.
A lot of people think you could just put your kid nepotism in showbiz and they become successful. You have to have talent and you have to listen, but you also have to know that they have to have a little discernment that, hey, Dad, that person's kind of weird over there. I remember this little story. We were at Burger King up here on Crenshaw. I live in Leimert Park, and my son had just graduated from school, sixth grade or fifth grade, whatever it was. And this, mentally, person was in line, a little older than, maybe he was 15, 16, 18. I don't know how old he was, but I knew something was wrong upstairs. But he had an attraction for my son. And so my son and I are very goofy. We laugh a lot and we don't laugh at the wrong stuff, but we will laugh at some inappropriate shit. And we knew right away something wasn't right. And he was like, the guy kept saying, he big. Oh, he big. But the way he was looking, the way he was looking at Roshan, going, "Ooh, he big." Roshan was like, "Hey, Dad, this guy tripping over here. He talking about I'm big. I don't think he talking about the same thing we talking about, Dad. I'm big, but he looking at me a little strange." I see, yeah, Ro, you got to watch out for that. So that became our word for anybody that came at Roshan, or if the room was hot, Roshan would look over at me and go, he
He
big.
did. He did. Say, man,
So that was our protection code. It's a dad. He big.
hey, have you ever have you ever felt some type of way about
uh,
Rashawn working in Hollywood and uh, somebody thinking that because Rashawn is working and he's making money and you got stewardship over him, that somehow some way that you were using your son to come up
oh
because
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh
a lot of
yes.
that happens, and
Oh
I know as a
yes.
father, my kids are not in Hollywood, but as a father, you know I've always kind of thought like if my kid was like young and making money, what I'm saying, how would I feel about that, knowing that I'm the dad, I'm the father, and I'm supposed to be the breadwinner, but this kid is making enough money to feed the
The whole
change,
family.
to create generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? And I got
Yes.
stewardship over the bread. How do I make sure that I take care of this? Like what kind of steps did you take to make sure that you secured the bag for Roshan so that when he got older, what I'm saying, he could have something to fall back on?
Well, that's a great question because one of the things that Rashawn was able to learn and sustain was I was gifted with negotiations. I worked with William Morris. I was somewhat his manager, but yet not his manager. A lot of times they didn't know I was Roshan's father, but every negotiation I negotiated on speakerphone, and everything that Roshan heard was for Roshan's behalf. There was none of the sneaky daddy trying to do a deal without me, daddy not honestly looking out for me. I wanted that to be so Rashawn could hear every step, and that not only for Rashawn, but if he has to do it in the future, he would know how to talk and negotiate this because it's a tricky dicky situation when these people think they're talking to dad. So a lot of times I wouldn't tell them it was dad. But what was very important for me was Rashawn hears every bit of the negotiation. One. Two would be once there was a certain amount of money made, we envisioned getting Rashawn property, and we accomplished that. Once that was a step, Rashawn was living in his own pretty fat condo a couple of blocks from the Staples Center. at 18 years old. So uh, Rashawn became super self-sufficient as a young man. I wanted him. I remember my wife crying when we did a credit check to see if Rashawn could get an apartment at 17, and it went through. And we said, "Oh wow, how did that happen?" Well, he was on Shake It Up. I think he had just turned 18, and he got the apartment on Hope and 8th Street, right across the street from Macy's, under the IHOP, 3 blocks from the Shake It Up studio. We wanted to do that. At least I wanted to do that because I didn't want him driving, being at work at 5 and 6 in the morning, having a new BMW 740 at 18, maybe not brand new, but pretty new. And 18-year-olds driving a 740. Come on. I didn't want him rolling out of the hood at that time of the morning by himself. So again, discernment has always been a gift from God. I wanted him to be close, and I wanted him to be on time at the studio, which he was. But I also wanted him to be sufficient and independent as a man. And I wanted him to start using his money and learning what paying rent was and investing in himself. And all that stuff he learned early. He went on to buy a few properties. He's always lived alone. He's never moved back home. But he learned that he was an independent man and a self-provider that happens to share his money with his family when he wants to, which is always. He's never been selfish. He's never been greedy. And as a father, I've always, back to your question, have felt really uncomfortable about, wow, if I'm not making money and he's the breadwinner, what do I do? And there came some days when there was nothing coming in. And the biggest blessing and God gave me was, you keep guiding him and you keep doing what you do as an actor, and I'll bless you too. So I completely stopped everything. There was no money coming in, and Rashawn was holding it down for a while. And then it did feel bad, but it also felt good because ultimately God provided for all of us.